Hi, everybody. So this is the first part of the video making a student observation form using Google Forms. We're going to start from the following screen. If you're familiar with Google and Google Drive, Google, maybe even a little bit of Google Forms, there are two ways to get to Google Forms. One is through your Drive. If you enter into your Drive, on the left-hand side, you'll see the New button. With the drop-down menu pops up at the bottom, you'll see the word More, and then it'll open up another menu to the right, and Google Forms is at the top of that. The other way to do it is just to type in forms.google.com, and you'll be brought immediately to this screen right here. We're going to start with a blank form, and you're presented with the following: an untitled form with one question that's, as a default, a multiple choice question. First thing you want to do is title it. So student observation form. Put a year in if you like, 2017. You don't have to put a year in if you want to reuse the form at a later date or next year, perhaps you want to use the same form. Once you put this in, if you go to the top right corner and click where it says Untitled Form, it will drop the title of the form in as the title of the document for your Google Drive. So to start off, first question I usually create is a drop-down menu question. Now, when you click on the title, immediately the question changes a little bit, and you're given the options of changing what kind of question you'd like to create. So short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop-down menu. File upload is new this year, which allows you to attach an artifact of learning, perhaps, to the spreadsheet that you're going to generate from this form. A linear scale, multiple choice grid, date, and time. For the purpose of this form, we're going to use mostly drop-down menus. So I'm going to pick drop-down menu, and the first question is going to be the student name. Now, obviously, in my case, I'm not going to name students, but I'm just going to title them Student 1, Student 2. You can input them how you like into your form, either by using simply first names. You can use starting with last name and first name. However you like to set up your form, that is your option. You can do it as you please. I'm just going to put in 4 students into this form just for demonstration purposes. So the first question, drop-down menu. Now, over on the right-hand side, you have this plus button, which means add a question. So I'm going to add a question. My second question, similarly, is going to be a drop-down menu. And I'm going to input all the subjects that I teach. So subject observed. Now, as a French teacher, I like to put each strand of French as its own separate drop-down. So if I'm evaluating French reading, I'm going to put in French writing, French listening, and French speaking. Let's put in the arts, drama, dance, art, and music. I'll put in social studies as 1. However, you can put it in as either the 2 strands that you teach. And let's put in phys ed. And finally, let's put in health. If you teach math, put in math. If you want to put in math and put in all 5 strands, that's fine as well. Now the next question, I'm just going to go back up to my panel here, add a question. And this time I'm going to add in just the word topic. And it's going to put in this, it's automatically going to change it to a short answer. So if you're observing somebody in, let's say, social studies, and you're doing pioneers, and it's the Pioneer project or something that you're working on, this would be the place where you can put in what project you're referring to specifically, because when it drops it into the spreadsheet, you can then filter for a specific project. I'll get to that when I get to the spreadsheet. And then I'm going to add in an observation. Again, it's going to change it automatically. It's going to bring up paragraph, and I would like to keep it as a paragraph text. For those of you that like to use the 1 to 4 scale, you can also put in a question, a linear scale question, and a scale, change the setting 1 to 4. label 1 being, let's say, emerging, and the 4 being mastery. Sure. And essentially you're done at this point. This is your form. If you want to add additional questions, additional inputs, that's up to you. This is pretty much what I did for student observations. For my learning skills observation form, I made it a little bit differently, but again, I can make another video for that if you wish. So now if you come to the top, you can preview your form, and this is what it'll look like when you go to input data. So you would have the option of choosing a student name, the subject that you're observing, the topic. So let's say French speaking, let's say it's the French public speaking contest. Observation. So student 1 was confident and clearly prepared, spoke very clearly and with excellent, and then let's just put it there. Obviously my comment might be a little bit longer than that. And then let's give this person a 4, and then I hit submit. I'm done. Okay, so here's where the forms gets interesting. You'll notice here where I wrote my questions, right next to it, there's a tab called responses. So if I go to my responses tab, Google itself will quickly graph every form that I submit. So it gives me a really good idea of what I've already evaluated, who I've already evaluated. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you click on this green Norwegian flag here, you have the option of creating a spreadsheet. This window will pop up. It will call it the same title as the form you just created. Just put responses next to it. And I'll hit create there. And voila, you have a spreadsheet with every input that you have ever done into the form. So what this means is that I can use this form for every topic, every subject, for every student, and everything I input into that form gets dropped into the same spreadsheet. So at reporting time, I can then filter this spreadsheet for every possible bit of data that I've entered into these 5 columns. You'll also note that every entry is time-stamped. So if you're doing something like a learning skills form, you have the time of day and the date that you put it in if you observed a behavior that concerns you and perhaps you want to contact parents about. So I'm going to stop this here, and I will create part 2, which will be using the Google Sheets for reporting.